Railway Conversations with Doc Frank.
Hello and welcome back to the show. My guest today is Thomas Laux from Berlin in Germany. We talk about the Digitale Schiene Deutschland program, in English Digital Rail Germany, where Thomas has a leading role as being responsible for the development and introduction of future technologies. Hi, this is Doc Frank again. I need to tell you about my brand new online ETCS training. It's the online version of the well-proven ETCS Kickstarter live training that has helped more than 200 railway professionals in Australia and New Zealand, regardless of their prior knowledge of signaling. So that really means you can learn the fundamentals of the European train control system, even if you didn't have any signaling knowledge before the training. How good is that? There's an online study group for networking during the training, and I also provide an industry-leading support of questions and answers, not just during your training, but also for a guaranteed minimum of 12 months after the training. Sign up now at docfranktraining.podia.com/ETCS. That's docfranktraining.podia.com/ETCS. Thomas, welcome to the show.
Frank, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
I was very much looking forward to that. I'm a big fan and quite fascinated what's been happening in Germany recently under the label Digitale Schiene Deutschland. In English, that's Digital Rail Germany. Okay, let's go to the next topic, which I find quite intriguing, and that's the whole moving block concept. The papers that you have that you have sent me, that I have seen, we're still talking about ETCS level 3, and that's perfectly okay because the papers were, I believe, a couple of years old or so. Now, yes. Interestingly, in the latest version of the ETCS standards, the baseline 4, and you will know that ETCS level 3 is no longer mentioned, so they took it out.
True.
Which to me was really, personally, it was a field day, because I've been saying for years that ETCS level 3 doesn't exist. Not so much because the technology isn't there, but because there are no interoperable products there. And if you have an ETCS system which is not interoperable and has no shot of being interoperable, you can call it level 3, but you can't call it ETCS, because ETCS without interoperability, what's the point? So where I am optimistic on the other side, and you mentioned that the specifications are already being developed, is the introduction of an addition which is called virtual blocks. And in the UK and the Netherlands, the concept is called hybrid level 3. Hybrid because the concept is having a mix of fixed block sections with track circuits and exit counters, and so-called virtual blocks, which do not require physical signals out on the track. You use other methods like positioning balises, or maybe LiDAR in the future, something like that, to basically create almost imaginary, no, not imaginary, virtual block sections that can be much shorter without the need for additional track circuits, exit counters, and so on. And I think virtual blocks will work. One, it will work much better with interlockings, because the whole interlocking logic is based on blocks. And I struggle to see how that should go away in the future. Yeah, so if you use virtual blocks, then you just would have to define additional block sections, but the concept of blocks in the interlocking logic doesn't have to change. So that's one advantage. And the other advantage is that virtual blocks can be standardized, I think, relatively easily. And I think a lot of the work that was done on hybrid level 3 already was driving that standardization. because most of the suppliers of the mainstream suppliers in Europe are involved in those activities anyway. Yeah, so you will already have a number of suppliers, probably including the ones that you normally have in Germany, that have participated, contributed in this development of the standards for virtual blocks. And I think functionally you will be able to achieve most of the things that you expect from moving block, you will be able to realize with virtual blocks. Would you agree with that assessment, or do you have any visions there that are completely different or way more advanced or whatever?
I would say I somewhat agree. Of course, we're aware of the virtual block concept, obviously. What we believe is that the future of CCS is one that, first of all, is a kind of geometric control system, enabling a train to run from any point to any point, which is not the case right now and wouldn't be the case with virtual blocks, because you still have to specify in advance where trains can run in some kind of node or in some kind of track setting. And the second is that we want to have a generic safety logic. So basically, you don't have to show in every new interlocking that your safety logic is sound and safe, but we aim for a generic safety logic which will get a generic approval, and then you don't need that same approval for every new interlocking build, which shortens the time that you need for planning and bringing into service a new interlocking dramatically. So there are advantages to the new interlocking system, or to the new CCS control system that we envision, that go beyond just the ability to shorten the distance between two running trains. Some of my colleagues say that just the moving block system is kind of the last 5%, and not the main points, the main advantages that you get from our new system. And actually, the standardization in Europe goes towards the same system as well. We're going towards this train-centric as opposed to track-centric control system within the standardization in Europe right now as well. It's been around for a while. It's going to be around for a while, or going to be worked on for a while, of course. But that's like the future that we work for within the standardization part of the RAM. And we have suppliers in Germany, or European and international suppliers, well-known suppliers, that are very highly interested in that new kind of CCS, because it's easier for them as well. It's less complexity for them as well to build such a system. You don't have the separate interlocking and RPC, which is the ETCS center, of course. And you don't have the aforementioned planning processes that I just described for bringing this technology actually to the service. So it's not only about moving block, which could be realized by another system as well, but it's also about the generic safety logic and the ability to drive from any point to any point, or any A to any B, as we say sometimes.
Okay. Is the idea to get more intelligence on the train and less on the track side? So are you going to, or is the vision to eventually replace interlockings, or am I thinking too far here?
It's not about replacing interlockings. The safety of the system will always be ensured trackside. So there will always be, in my vision, in my point of view, a trackside system ensuring the safety of the systems, ensuring that no two trains collide. So it's not about getting more intelligence onto the trains. What we aim to do is reduce the trackside equipment that we need to have that safety. For example, axle counters are not necessary anymore if you have the ability train side to detect the train length and the train integrity. So have a train integrity system or monitoring system. So we are aiming to have certain functions move to the train, but it's not about the intelligence, it's not about the safety.
Okay. Well, because the thing about what I've recently done is I basically issued a letter to the IRSE News where I was discussing ETCS level 3. And everybody seems to think that's the holy grail. Like you have a moving block system that's interoperable. So that's the best of both worlds. And I basically said, well, wait a minute. The migration of a mainline railway like yours towards a moving block system is not quite that simple, because
it's not, absolutely not.
Any train that is not fitted with that moving block functionality, if you get rid of track circuits and exit counters, everything, any train that's not communicating, that doesn't have the feature, is uncontrollable and invisible. And that's certainly not safe at all. So I think as long as you still have a mix of trains that are fitted with like a moving block onboard system, I simplify it, and trains that are not fitted with such a system, you still need to have some kind of trackside train detection, because otherwise the trains just disappear in those moving block areas.
That's certainly true. So we will have the new system be able to operate with existing exo counters, and we will have the new system to be able to operate with trains which are not outfitted with a, for example, train integrity monitoring system. So basically, if there are exit counters there, we can use them, and all kinds of trains that are running right now will be able to run in the future. But of course, as we have more and more trains outfitted with such a train integrity monitoring system, or TIMS in short, we will gain the advantages of more capacity of the moving block system that we implement. So basically, we enable migration by backwards compatibility. That's the strategy, because it's not at all possible to have all the trains, especially the cargo trains, the freight trains which run across Europe, to have outfitted in a short time with the systems that we need. It's not economically viable. It's not feasible.
Yes, but you also need to be very careful with your capacity objectives on a certain line. So when I first heard about this concept of hybrid level 3, which is a mix of fixed block and virtual blocks, which is kind of similar of what you just described. One of the objectives I heard was to reduce the trackside train detection, reduce the number of track circuits, reduce the number of exit counters. And you kind of just said the same.
Yes.
Now, the problem is, if I look at a certain line where I would love to increase the capacity of that line, at the same time, I'm saying I want to reduce the existing track circuits and exit counters on it. How does it work? Well, if I reduce track circuits or exit counters, that means my fixed blocks are getting longer.
Yes.
That means your capacity goes down, at least for all the trains that don't have that virtual block or moving block or whatever technology. So you may have a line where, on the one hand, you're introducing a high capacity system working on moving block or virtual block or whatever. At the same time, you're trying to save some equipment by taking out track circuits or exit counters. And any train that isn't fitted with that high capacity system will need a much longer slot, and basically shoots down your entire capacity gain. So this is what I would call mixed traffic. Like in CBTC, we're calling this mixed traffic, where you have trains that are fitted with CBTC, with the moving block technology, mixed in with trains that are not fitted. And those unfitted trains really compromise the capacity. And if you run too many of them, it compromises capacity to a point where people say, well, it's not worth the investment anymore. So that's the CBTC world over here. But what I see now over here in the mainline setting is a similar tendency where you say, okay, well, we want to go to moving block, but unfitted trains will really, scrap your performance, will scrap your line capacity. So the solution I see is either you identify certain corridors as high capacity corridors, similar to your high-speed lines at the moment. You do not allow any odd train on the high-speed lines. You only allow trains on the high-speed lines that can run at a certain speed, because otherwise there would be obstacles for all the fast trains running on that line. So either you have priority corridors, a high-speed corridor, not high capacity corridors, where you say we only allow trains that are actually fitted with that high capacity equipment, i.e. moving block, and everything else will be bent. Everything else can run on other lines around it, and it takes more time, but so be it. Yeah, that's really the only way that I see going forward. Is that kind of the thinking that you have there?
Well, of course, what you're describing is the basic conundrum of migration strategy, where you need trackside equipment and train-side equipment, and there's not going to be an easy or overall answer to this. Of course, there are settings where we have a comparably low number of different train types, and a high capacity need, for example, a metro system or S-Bahn system in Germany, and it's easier to have then outfitted all the trains, especially if they're cap units, continuous units, with such a integrated monitoring system, and then you can more easily implement or bring into service the moving block operational scenario. And there's going to be other parts where we have the trackside equipped already, and probably will need axle counters. And I don't envision like throwing out axle counters before a majority of trains has been refitted with the necessary systems. So I don't think we will have capacity going down by throwing out the trackside equipment, but rather we will still keep the trackside equipment and maintain them and reinvest them and so on until a necessary critical mass of trains has been refitted. That's probably going to be the core of the strategy that we need.
Yeah, and especially on the trans-European corridors, I would see that you need to retain track vacancy detection for a long time, because I mean, even if you are very fast in Germany to fit all your trains with the necessary equipment, there are still trains coming over from Poland, from Austria, from the Czech Republic, from God knows where. And you cannot have the guarantee or the certainty that all those trains will be equally fitted. I mean, firstly,
well, we have to. There's one point we have the push for the digital automatic coupling that you might have heard of. So basically, outfitting many or even all of the cargo units with an automatic coupling, which then would be, with some additional measures, be able to ensure train integrity as well. So if that comes to pass, we have solved a lot of the problems for the trans-European corridors, because they are mostly used by cargo trains, of course. And always when we have cross-border or let's say cross-operational domain traffic, we will have that kind of problem, and it's going to be taking a long time outfitting and like bringing into operation the moving block in all of Germany. But that doesn't mean we don't have to start, because we can like go into operation and bring value in certain operational contexts. For example, the metro system I just mentioned. And as I said before, it's not only about the moving block. There's a lot of advantages that are like on the technical and operational side, for the new system that we don't have right now with the interlocking and ETCS separate technical system.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say this earlier, and I say this now. There have been studies in Germany like decades ago, like more than 20 years ago, by the University of Aachen, which basically came out that with an optimized ETCS level 2, you can reach pretty much the same capacity benefits as you could with a level 3 system, but without the risks that you would have with unfitted trains. So, and your concept, what I could read, is actually foreseeing a target picture of an optimized ETCS, where you introduce additional block sections. So for now, it will be exit counters or track circuits. But in the future, that could be virtual blocks, which basically allows you additional blocks without the additional trackside equipment. And that can give you the majority of capacity gains already without this moving block stuff. But I agree with you. There are certainly local applications in Germany where you need capacity the most. I'm thinking of the S-Bahn systems in Frankfurt, Munich, Hamburg, cities like that, where you have a captive fleet of these suburban S-Bahn trains that should be much easier to fit. Train integrity is much easier because you've got fixed brakes. So if the train comes apart, the brakes will be applied anyway immediately. So train integrity is solved, and those systems are obviously the prime candidates for these for these systems. Yeah, I could imagine Stuttgart is probably another region where you want to try this in the future, because Stuttgart is one of your pilots for the core package anyway at the moment. No, starter package, I think you called it in DSD. So basically a regional area with a limited captive number of trains, maybe outside the trans-European corridors where you don't have too much interference with trains coming from God knows where, that may not be fitted in the proper way and so on. Yeah, so
that's exactly right. Yes, and incidentally, those contexts, like the S-Bahn context, are those where we expect to need more capacity. In the future, and we're still talking about hundreds of train runs every day. So there's a lot to be gained there.
Yeah. We have something similar here in Australia, by the way. So Sydney is currently introducing ETCS level 2 without signals, and also with capacity optimized block sections. So they're not going for virtual blocks, they're not going for moving block, but they are using the opportunity of the cap signaling feature of ETCS level 2 to get rid of line side signals, and by doing so having the ability to optimize the length of the block sections. So very much in line with what you described as the target picture of your optimized ETCS level 2 without signals. And that's because they need the additional capacity, and they need this additional capacity in a reliable way. Yeah, so there's no point in being able to run 24 trains per hour for like half an hour, and then you've got the first timetable delay, and then everything goes down the toilet. Doesn't make sense for a city railway, which an S-Bahn is. Yeah. So the third area that you mentioned, the intelligent traffic control, the intelligent traffic optimization. Well, that is possibly the most intriguing of them all. But as a signaling person, of course, I started with automatic train operation and moving block. But I think the traffic control optimization is an area where, more than in the other areas, artificial intelligence could come to fruition, could come to use. And I think that's actually part of your concept. So what can you tell us about that area, and how far are you in that area with your research, with first trials, pilots, whatever?
That's right. We are using AI, we're using artificial intelligence to solve that optimization problem, which in Germany, or looking at the German tracks, is quite the big, most complex optimization problem anyone could wish for. Of course, there have been numerous and many years long systems to have conflict resolution using classical optimization methods, but usually they don't scale well, or not well enough to have this applied to a whole network like in Germany. So we're using AI, reinforced learning to solve that optimization problem, to have basically an optimized timetable at all times in real time or nearly in real time for the whole of Germany. We are in the research and development stages right now. We're developing this ourselves at Deutsche Bahn, and we also already have a running prototype where we took, like, for example, the node Stuttgart, and we can already have, like, in a simulation, a optimization of all timetables, or when there's a disturbancy, a re-optimization of those timetables for all trains running in a certain time period, for example, a day. There is some work to be done still to have this scalable and, like, eke out the last percents of optimization. But this will come to reality in the next years. Our goal is to have this implemented in 2030. Implement as in develop the system, program the system, and then have it really implemented and connected to all the surrounding systems, for example, as I said, in 2030. So this is quite a cool thing we're working on there, and I'm really proud of the team that's doing the work.
Oh yeah, I believe it. It's very cool. Yeah, as with most things that have to do with AI, it's cool beyond belief. I must admit, and sometimes I think I sound like a dinosaur. I'm a bit on the skeptical side when it comes to AI, and one of the areas where I'm skeptic, or where I see potential risks or potential issues, is if people, operational staff, starts to rely blindly on the capabilities of AI. So when you talk about an optimized timetable across the entire country of Germany, like 42,000 kilometers of rail, if AI, for whatever reason, let's hope it never happens, but if this, for whatever reason, goes wrong, what could happen in theory is that all of a sudden you have across the entire country a timetable that's off. And if your operational staff has unlearned to do that timetable planning, this timetable optimization, the response to disturbances themselves by blindly relying on AI, they are completely stuffed if something goes wrong. So I'm just wondering whether that's a consideration at all, or whether you say, no, it will be fine. We will test it as long as it needs to be to really be bulletproof. Or do you anticipate those problems and you say, okay, well, we are dealing with this by, I don't know, having a fallback, having an over and back strategy, where if the new timetable doesn't work, we go back to the old one and then make do with what we've got there. So is that an issue that you see as well? And if so, what do you do about it?
Both of the above. So we are, of course, thoroughly testing it. And of course, we're ensuring that not a single instance of the system is going to be responsible for the whole of Germany, but there's going to be fallbacks and like partitioning of responsibility and so on. Yes, we will ensure that our personnel will be able to will not unlearn the necessary skills they need to kind of operate a system when something breaks down. On the other side, when introducing new technology, and this not goes only for digitalization or automation and so on, but for all kinds of technology, you always have to have some kind of transfer of responsibility, or have had some kind of transfer of responsibility to the system. At least if it becomes more integrated and bigger and so on, as it tended to do so in the last years. So this is going to be something that we will have to work with, and then just make sure that, as I said, our personnel can handle it, and we test it as long as possible and as long as necessary, to not have that kind of like major breakdown affecting all of Germany, or even affecting some big node. It would be it's also not acceptable to have affect just like the city of Stuttgart. It's not going to happen.
Yes. Yeah. So what I could imagine would be helpful, and I'm not sure whether it's possible. I don't know enough about AI, but if the automatic system could explain what it's doing, so that say an experienced transport planner can basically have a look why the system did what the system did. It would give an opportunity to your staff to actually keep learning on the job and keep improving, and like keeping track with the logical deductions that the system has come up with. And that may not only prevent them from unlearning to do the planning, but also improving their planning in line with what the system comes up with. Yeah, so I'm not sure whether that's possible, or whether the amount of data would be so overwhelming that a single person couldn't follow all of this anyhow. But I could imagine this is something where AI could have a very beneficial side effect for the qualifications of your operational staff.
Yeah, this is actually something that we are considering, or we're working on quite heavily, explainable AI, or having our AI being understandable by human operators. Not only for the case that you mentioned just right now, but of course we have to show that the systems works, and we have to have to prove to our authorities that the system works in order to be able to bring it into service. And it's going to be part of most likely going to be part of our migration strategy as well. Some kind of proposal system, which basically is what you just described, to give our operators some kind of proposal system first, and then have it more and more automated, and still understandable and explainable after being automated. Yeah, that's a big part of our considerations.
The plans in Germany are quite ambitious for DSD. Just one aspect of this ambitious plan. When I read this correctly, your plan is to have ETCS level 2 without signals plus digital interlockings rolled out across the network by 2035, which is only 10 years away, and which is very much faster than what I would have ever imagined, and anybody else would have ever imagined. It's not a very long period of time. If you look at the implementation time needed for just a single piece of rail corridor, and here we're talking an entire network. I'm not saying that doesn't work. I'm not saying I'm not believing it, but it is very ambitious. I have seen national rollout plans going all the way to 2066. Yeah, so 2035 for a country the size of Germany is extremely ambitious and extremely optimistic at the same time, and it will cost a lot of money. However, at the same time, if your existing equipment gets obsolete and needs replacement, there's a big investment need anyhow.
That's the point.
So how optimistic are you that there will be enough funding in time to actually get this rollout done? Just focusing on that stage 1 nationwide in Germany.
I believe we don't have another choice. Basically, there is a societal need talking about climate change and so on, to have to move traffic from the roads, for example, to the railways. And this is not going to be able to happen on the existing system with all its drawbacks that we have right now, and with all the interlockings that stem from 1894. So this is just not possible. So we have the absolute need to modernize our railway infrastructure. And usually when there's a need, there's a way. Of course, if this is going to happen until 35, that's the plan right now. But to be honest, if it's going to be happen until 2040, it's still like breakneck speed for when talking about railway outfitting.
I agree. Yeah.
And it's still going to cost a lot of money. But as I just said, if our infrastructure breaks down, this still costs even more money. So we need to modernize that infrastructure, and I think we have a solid plan in place to do so. If is it perfect? Of course, no plan is ever perfect, and reality is not ever going to adhere to the plan. But I think we have a good, not only a good chance, but a good plan, and we have the political backing to modernize and digitalize our infrastructure in Germany, or railway system in Germany. So, yeah, like the major components are in place, and now we only need to do it.
What's interesting, and I've seen this in various positions in the papers that you sent me, is that this whole improvement of the infrastructure of the network is to happen without the need for additional tracks, for additional corridors. And this is really a very important aspect. People keep saying, this modern signaling equipment is so terribly expensive. Whether it's CBTC, whether it's ETCS level 2, doesn't matter. It's so terribly expensive. But if you compare the cost, if it really gives you higher capacity, and you compare the cost with alternatives to increase capacity, which is building additional railway lines, all of a sudden the signaling equipment isn't that expensive anymore. And all of a sudden it becomes your cheapest option to increase capacity. So I think this is what's going to happen in Germany.
That's quite true. We're talking about plus 35% capacity all in all across the two stages of DST. And so plus 35, so 1/3. It's not even thinkable to have an additional 1/3 of tracks built, not only from the budget kind of side of view, but also like public acceptance and so on. It takes so long, not only in Germany, to build new tracks, and it's not a lot of people are willing to have an additional track in front of their house and their door. So the public acceptance is not. It's way easier to outfit existing tracks and to upgrade existing tracks than building new tracks. And especially in Germany, where we have some issues with punctuality, for example, because our existing equipment is more or less breaking down right now because it's too old and the infrastructure is too full. We really need to focus on what's there right now and modernize it and upgrade it. Yeah.
It's definitely a very, very exciting program and a very exciting outlook for Germany. If I was still there, I would certainly want to work on that as well, for certain.
That's good to hear.
All I can say is wishing you all the best for that ambitious program, hoping that it really works out that the way you planned. I know that several other countries in Europe are jumping on the same bandwagon, whether they are following German rail or whether they do it in parallel. I'm thinking of France, I'm thinking of Switzerland. Yes. They're all talking about advanced features, including fully automatic driving and all kinds of things. So I really hope that there may also be some kind of European harmonization in those areas. But at the very minimum, I hope that you don't let yourself slow down by the European initiatives and basically drive stuff forward in Germany. So all the best. And thank you very much for your time. I hope that the listeners found it as insightful as I found it. And I'm now even more fascinated by the DSD program than what I was when we started talking. Thank you very much, Thomas.
Thank you, Frank, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Hi, this is Doc Frank from the studio. I want to inform you about my latest and greatest training development, and it is all about the mindset of a high capacity railway organization. What I found in my experience of training and consulting is that often you have projects for new technology which seem to be perfectly planned, which are very well executed, and they still don't lead to the success that was expected. And very often the reason for that is mindset. Key stakeholders that have what I call a legacy mindset, an outdated old ways of thinking where the new technology is treated in the same way as the old one, but it's just not suitable to get the most out of the new technology. This course, which is called High Capacity Railway Mindset, provides you with weekly training modules over 12 weeks. Each module has a lesson with 5 examples of a legacy mindset, the potential issues with that, an alternative expression from a high capacity mindset that is more suitable for the new world with the new technology, and suggestions how to adopt such a high capacity mindset. Every module also includes a second lesson called Transformation Guide, which provides you with more general tips and tricks how to change your mindset or anything else you might want to change in your life. So in total, the entire training offers 60 examples of a shift from a legacy mindset to a high capacity mindset and 12 transformation guide lessons. This is not only the most comprehensive training on this topic, it is the only training worldwide at the time I record this for you. You can watch all lessons on demand whenever it suits you, from where you prefer, and as often as you like. And then you have the usual service of an alumni community afterwards where you can ask ongoing questions for at least 12 months after the training. You find more information and you can sign up on my training portal docfranktraining.podia.com/mindset. I hope I see you at this training. It's really leading edge stuff. Nobody else in the world is training on this. And if you really want to explore the ultimate frontier of success in technology projects, then this is the training you need to take. Hi, it's Doc Frank again. I hope you liked today's episode. I like to keep it as simple as possible, so I only have one single request for you. If you like this podcast, please tell your friends and colleagues about it. That's all I want, because that's a service that I'm providing to the industry, and I would like as many people as possible to listen to this podcast and learn something from it. So please share, and until next time, keep it simple and bye for now. Thank you for listening.